you know, and in fact, Cam and I, and we're recording right now. So Cam and I, Cam, our integrator,
You're like,
he,
whoosh.
yeah, he has a couple of podcasts, and he and I started a podcast. Well, he started a podcast. He said, come and do it with me. And then he sort of stopped it. And now he's wanting to get back on it. But literally it is us just talking. And I don't know about you, Jess, but I feel like sometimes there'll be a topic. We'll be like, let's talk about this. This is really important. But sometimes it'll be like, you know what? I am up against it with work and with getting stuff done before I head down to the Queenstown, where I will not have my computer with me for 7 days. So I've realized I've got a whole bunch of stuff to do. So I haven't had the real estate in my brain to be as organized as what I might otherwise. But also I possibly rely on the fact that you're amazing and you can always bring it and so I know that I only have to be 50% because you're 50%, and together we make 100. Have you heard of Mel Robbins talk about that, by the way?
No, I've heard of Mel Robbins talk about everything besides that. So I was thinking about the let them theory. I was actually going to talk to you about that. That's funny that you brought Mel Robbins in. Again, not only are we a good 50-50 like popsicle, but we do tend to have a bit of the mind read going on, even though we are like it's funny because I'm like, that's interesting that you went there because I was going to go there too, but go ahead and talk to me about the 50-50.
Well, she discusses sort of, you know, in relationships, you can't always expect your partner to show up 100%.
Yes, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so she's like, can't, and I may have this slightly wrong, but I'm pretty sure she's like, you guys just have to be 100. Like, can you be 100? Like, if he's 50%, can you come in and sort of make up for where he or she is, you know, feeling lacking in energy or etc. So I sort of feel like we are good at propping each other up, but also get a little bit of a boost afterwards. So I'll leave our conversation. I'll be like, that was awesome. Got it done. Really enjoyed it. And I feel like I've got like an hour of productive work ahead of me. Whereas if I don't have this sort of influx of energy, it's more like, oh my goodness, I have to drag my feet for another hour doing this, you know, like just your whole mindset is different.
It is, and it's super important. I always go back to this because it's like your strength, your embodiment of like building muscle, and but literally, I always think for all the ways that you eat and nutritionally keep yourself sane, like with protein and with strength training and with minerals and all the right vitamins, you really can't forget like how do you build the like muscle of your brain? How do you actually build it up so that you don't go into fight or flight, or you don't go into like scarcity abundant mode constantly, or like you forget that the synergistic effect of another person is really powerful to your health. And so it may not, you know, we were talking earlier, like I have so much that I want to talk to you about, and I have so much that I want to give to our like, you know, community and people around us and, you know, that are listening, because we have so much to give. But I also think there's real power in just kind of like, you know, being present, and how do you engage this muscle, right? How do you actually like strengthen it? Because we're literally packing up our protein in like little glass containers with steak and chicken and all the shit, but we're kind of like forgetting maybe a little bit of like what jazzes you up after you eat that. Because once you've eaten that and you feel satiated, your stomach feels full, there's still kind of an emptiness that we all feel that just is a little bit missing. And I know that comes from work. It comes from like literally building connection to somebody who sees you, who it, you know, allows space for you to like process or talk about the things that you know kind of let you up or that don't let you up.
100%.
Both work.
And I love actually that you bring up that scarcity and abundant mindset, which is what we were talking about before, sort of jumping on. And like, and like we all have it in areas of our lives and in areas of our work. Like you said to me before we jumped on that, oh, Mikki, you're very, like, you're very good with that. We didn't call it scarcity and abundant mindset, but just the not dwelling on sort of, I don't know, whatever. And I don't know that I'm that great. I don't know I'm any different from anyone else, actually. I feel like I've got more of an abundant mindset than maybe I used to have. So I'm definitely better than what I was, but I don't think I'm better than sort of anyone else. But I do think...
Well, I'm just curious, when you have a day and not like things aren't going well, because that's sort of like trite, but I
Mm,
mean like where there's just kind of moments where people aren't connecting with you or responding, or some clients just are going different directions or whatever, whatever, who knows. What is the narrative that you say to yourself? Like, what do you say? Because clearly we can linger in that space for a minute. And I'm not saying that I'm telling you all that we shouldn't be there. I'm just suggesting, like, what is the narrative to help you, like, pull yourself into a different space when that
mm.
does occur to you? You must say something or do something. What are
I,
what
yeah.
are your habits?
I don't think we're different. I just think we're sort of further. I might just have other things other levers to pull, maybe. But let's say, like, I have 6 client hours a week, and
Hmm.
for the most part, they are full. I mean, people cancel and reschedule, and sometimes I'm like, well, that person literally cancelled within that cancellation sort of or outside of the cancellation window, and now I don't have a client in there that could have filled that space. So
Right,
that's
that's right.
that's slightly annoying. But I feel like now, and look, this changes depending on how tired I am, and maybe if I'm injured or not. Like like a lot of other things have to be sort of going well for me to go, that's okay, because I will spend this next hour getting this other thing done for this other person, or preparing for this podcast, or writing this blog. So I will always find something to sort of fill that space. But I do feel like I've worked my way to more of an abundant mindset than a scarcity mindset, which it used to worry me when I had more client hours that were difficult to fill. Um, and I would have a lot of empty spaces, particularly like there are just times of the year where it's just slower. Like people don't tend to care much about bikini bodies in April, for example. So they're not signing in, or sorry, signing up. So I feel like my changing business has sort of changed my mindset. Plus, also just all the stuff that we engage in, like the Mel Robbins podcast, like the work
Hmm.
with Jill, like actually having communication with my dear friends and my business friends about them also having similar experiences. So suddenly I'm not this sort of unicorn that is the only one that ever has any problems. Like it's just part of what we do. Like, so you almost have to roll with it. And I also remember, Jess, that business is super important, but it's not the most important thing. So I know that Barry will
Mm,
get home that day, and
mm,
we'll be able to virtually high five each other and give each other a cuddle, and he'll still make me a cup of tea, maybe. Like, so I'm like, cool,
mm.
that's the stuff that matters. But I do have to talk. If I'm in that scarcity mindset, I have to do a bit of self talk to get myself out of it.
What do you say?
Exactly what I've just said.
Hmm.
Barry's going to be home. It doesn't
Oh,
actually
that's
matter.
the thing. Sorry, I thought there was yes, I
No.
love
It's
that.
it's
And
both.
that is good.
Yeah, it's both
Hmm.
actually. It's just like my reminding, but also
Mm,
I jump on an exercycle too sometimes. I'm like, cool, I'll
hmm.
just do it, and that helps calm my nervous system for me. So
That's right.
I enjoy doing that stuff. But I do think you need to have space to dwell a little bit, but there has to be a point in time where you just, for me, where I'm like, right, I just can't dwell anymore, and I have to move on because it's just not
Hmm.
helpful. And
I agree.
maybe it's like putting a little thing in your calendar. Did we talk about this last time? Like,
No, but we put everything else in our calendar so we can put a place to like to help us regulate our nervous systems. Or yeah, what is
yes.
the thing you put in the calendar?
Yeah, like they're like, right, I'm going to spend like the next couple of hours just really dwelling on this annoying, like this thing
Uh,
that's sort of, grinding my gears right now, and then I'm going to move on.
I think that's wise. What bringing it back to Mel Robbins, and I think actually Brene Brown said that too in one of her podcasts. Whereas in relationships, where today I'm 60, and so then the partner yells out, "Great, I'll be 40." You know what I mean? So
Yes.
so right to kind of meet you in that space. But when you're working sometimes, or you're parenting and you're all the things, there's nobody out, you're kind of like at 70, there's nobody answers back. Like,
No,
I got you
no,
on 30. You're like, oh shit.
no. You just
So
have to
you have
check.
to kind of find the 30 somewhere,
Well,
you know what I mean?
actually,
Wherever that where is.
have we even got it right? Because then between two people, you're only 100. Like, have I got that really quite wrong? Jess, you can.
No, you don't have it wrong. They used 100. Now I don't care. You want to fucking use 200, 300, be my guest. But for math purposes, I'm going to stick with 100.
Okay, that's good. Well, Jess, if that ever happens to you, you just have to just WhatsApp me. I'm 17
I
and like,
will.
cool, I'll be your 30.
Wonder. So this is exactly why this is perfect. Find a person who can be your deficit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You got to bring something, but then find the person to be your deficit because when you're in those moments of scarcity and abundant mindsets, I think you tend to just be so consumed in the scarcity part, and the abundance is the deficit, right? The abundance is like how you're going to get out of that sort of
Yeah.
rumination cycle. And the other thing, like most things, but one thing that Mel Robbins and I will have to get her book because half the world is getting it right now with the let them concept. But one thing that's a very powerful point, she did a ton of research, but the concept is very simple, is that if people are going to do decisions that are outside of your control, you have to let them.
Mm.
Like, you literally have to go, oh, you're gonna, be bikini ready in 6 months instead of doing the program now. Great, let them. We'll see you in 6 months. Like, it's at some point, it's just a putting a period next to it. Okay, great, let them. It's simple, but it's something that I could continue to work on in a repetitive place. The other thing that I do, it's a good reminder what you said is like, will I still be able to like have coffee with my spouse, in the morning? Will I still, because these things are also like very centering to the bigger picture of why we do what we do.
Yeah.
But I think that the narrative for me has always been time. So
Mm.
whatever something isn't going to give you, that will allow space and time, hopefully, for something that will be richer and perhaps more rewarding for you psychologically. I always say that the universe is not accidental.
Mm.
I'm a religious and a spiritual
Mm.
person, but so I'm both. But I do really think that there is no accidental energy. There's no accidental things.
I
This is not
agree.
accidental, you know.
Okay, so you and then I think what is required is our and I don't want to say logical brain because someone will go, come on, spirituality and religion isn't logical. But when we notice ourselves just staying in that rumination
Mm.
of scarcity mindset, we almost need something to sort of to overcome that. Like just that, like there is no accidental energy. That is perfect, and it is so true. And I am with you. I am not religious, but I do feel like I'm spiritual, and
You
I
are.
100% agree with that. Like everything happens for a reason.
And for your clinical brains out there on your non emotional, remember that when you're in that state too long, it's very inflammatory. So it revs up all of these parts of our body that create inflammation. And so I think about when I'm in that state, it's like me consuming a whole lot of chocolate squares. Like, wow, you know what I mean? Without stopping, to look at
Yeah.
how many I just ate. I'm just like consuming. And it's really, really tough on my body. It's like I have to remember this is causing inflammation when I do this to myself.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
doesn't mean that I'm fixing it or it's easy, but I think if people can hear this, I would hope that they would walk away with going, okay, it's inflammatory, literally, when I'm like causing such a strong reaction. I'm in a scarcity mindset, meaning I'm not going to be productive here. Energy is not accidental. So whatever is happening, there's some purpose for it. I'll still be able to have coffee with my partner, tea, and a biscuit. And, it can continually to find that person or partner when you can. You've got a Mikki and a Jess there somewhere. Like shout out what you need. I'm gonna
Yeah.
start doing that to you and be like, I'm having a 60 day today,
Yeah.
and you're gonna go, cool. I can bring the 40. What is it that would bring the 40?
100. 100%. And don't you love that? Like, because I
Yeah,
feel
because
like,
it's easy. I can do that. It's like an
yeah,
easy, straightforward thing, and that will help calm my nervous system and it'll get me out of inflammatory
it totally
places.
will. And it will also, like, it just, and there'll be people that you'll do, that you know that will bring your 40. And I think even knowing
Yeah.
that, like, oh, you guys have my back, like, that to me, I feel calmer saying that, going, oh, I could do that to Jess. I could send her a text. And I mean, you might respond about 5 hours later, but I know that you'll get there eventually.
If you tell me that today's a 40 day, I need you, sister. And could be that the things that are coming in and out of my life allow me to respond. That's, right? Like
Yeah.
we call a spade, but I think that's the thing. It's time. So
Yeah.
you're just reallocating your time. So it's, but this is like processing because it's not an easy thing, but I think we have to spend a little bit more time in this zone of
Mm,
genius, if you will, because
mm.
when you can think about it, then you're not, everybody just wants to like focus on, you know, I always say the bottom down, but like you got to eat your protein and you also have to have the people that are going to provide you with help when you're at a deficit, which we are, I think, quite often,
I
frankly.
agree.
But, I think that my original question for you, and you answered it, but you tend to, the thing happens, whatever that is, that maybe is challenging for you, Mix, but you tend to, and this could be your upbringing, but you tend to kind of move, like, let's go on to the next thing. I don't see you sitting in it. That's the
Mm,
difference. And and I know I have friends that are more oriented around your kind of spirit. I'm a reformed person who spends too much time in that place.
mm.
So I'm working to spend less. It's
Yeah.
just harder for me. So
No,
that's why I think to yourself, like, what is it that she does that she just like moves on to the next, like, okay, we're good. Like, I'm done here. I need to go here now. So
yeah.
it's
Well,
probably not even that, I don't know. It's probably not
no,
even something
I,
that you're that even conscious of,
no,
frankly,
I
but
never used to be that. I used to always sit in that space. And
you
then,
did.
yeah, but it was just so unhelpful. Like, I just
Mm-hmm.
recognized how unhelpful it was.
Totally.
And so I'm like, I need, I actually need to do work here. So I have a question, slight tangent. Did you think Mel needed to write a book?
That's really funny. I know.
I mean, I don't know, just let
uh,
them.
I have it. I mean, it's like seriously, and I'm like, she must have. I don't even know. I'm gonna probably get it because I am curious to know how many people she's literally spoken with to like get to the bottom of this
Yeah,
concept. Because I'm
yeah.
sure it's exactly what we're talking about. She probably took a lot of these themes and tried to figure out. I think it was her own like process of rewiring her own brain, because that's a real deal, right?
Yeah.
Like my one girlfriend, and she'll listen to this podcast and appreciate that we're talking about this, but she's going to go do this really fantastic, like, it's like 8 days where you literally go to rewire your brain. It's kind of fucking amazing.
Wow.
No phones, no access. It's like you got to be in it. She made a good point to me. She's like, look, and I respect the hell out of her because I don't know very many people that could do this. But she said, we go on vacations, we go to Hawaii or Mexico or whatever, and we go do a bunch of self care things, right? We go get massages or facials, and those are all really nice, but they don't really change, they don't rewire how you think about things or how you
Mm,
respond. They're just like, they basically allow you to feel relaxed. And that's great. Don't get me wrong. I
mm,
love to feel relaxed. But she's right. It doesn't actually like rewire the process. So I think
mm.
Mel kind of basically needed to do something kind of like, you know, to the depths of all of it. And so she just took all of her thought leaders and kind of combined what they were doing into this greater simple form of let them, because you're right, I think at some point wouldn't I get them just out of it. But her shtick is like a lot of repetition, right? She like
Yeah,
stays on that thing over and
yeah.
over and over and over and over again, and then says it again in 10 different ways. I don't think so. Maybe I don't know that a book was necessary, but you know what? I know that you are not going to read it, so I will read it.
I might read
I
it.
may, I may actually listen. I probably won't read. I'll probably listen to it,
Yeah.
when I'm like out. And I would love to listen to how she extends this concept into a whole book.
I'm quite curious too. So I might download it as well and listen and see, because I love Mel, and I think if you can write a theory, if you can like turn a theory into a book, mate, you're a genius. So I'd like to engage with
I
that
agree.
genius.
I, I totally agree. And this is why I think this is important because I think people need to spend a little bit more time because and this kind of ties into this conversation we had about friendship not that long ago, but like when certain people walk into a room, you don't know necessarily that they're going to be your friend, but you do know that there's something about their energy that feels like I want a little more of that. Like, oh,
Mm,
that's good.
mm,
Like
yeah,
that feels good.
yeah,
This is like literally something. I mean, you know, it's like the beginning of our origin story. I remember meeting you and I remember listening to you and talking, and you're just like, oh, that we really hit it off with a person. Energetically, there's just something that kind of feels balancing, and you want a little more of that. You
yeah.
want to kind of like figure out how you can get more of that. And I think that's like anything that we kind of explore where it just resonates for us. But I think people should really think about it when you're out in the world and you're engaging. I always tell my children, but try to be memorable. And I don't mean like dancing around and making a bunch of shots at the buzzer and whatever, but like really the shit that sets you apart is how you come into a space
Mm,
and what kind of energy you're kind of giving off in that space. And that's really hard, actually. That's not it sounds very simple, but the energy you give off is the thing people
remember,
like feel, yeah,
yeah. That
later on. It's like
people always
they
remember.
want a little more of,
Yeah, what's the saying? People always remember how you made them feel, not necessarily, what
what
you
you
said.
said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
It's
true.
Maya Angelou's words in the best possible way, right?
Yeah,
It's like, it's really feeling like you can stop and see somebody, but you can't see somebody unless you're actually actively thinking about the energy that you're giving out and how you are processing situations that might feel scarce to you. So I'm really seeing it as a bigger calling and a bigger job because damn, when shit hits the fan for people, they go scarce
yeah,
immediately. I've never seen, I mean, I've studied human behavior now in the work I do for years, and it is like fucking textbook.
yeah,
Shit hits the fan, they go scarce mode
yeah,
right away.
yeah.
Anything that they were possibly doing that was like fueling them or feeling healthy is off.
Oh,
I want to
totally.
know why. Love to know why.
It's
Love to help people figure that out. I'd love to
yeah.
figure it out myself,
It's
you
not a
know?
priority. Like, unfortunately, they don't see it as a priority, and they're like, and that's a whole other conversation, isn't it?
Oh my God.
But the thing with the things that go are the things that they feel like are almost optional, without actually realizing the true extent of how important having a trainer is, or looking not and actually having someone to check in with. Like, there are so many things that you do for people, Jess, that go well beyond, here's your
Mm.
plan and let's go through this. Like, I don't know.
It's so much more than that. It's
Mm,
deep. Yeah, it is. So I think I am comfortable and uncomfortable with how all of that is. But more than anything, taking myself and my own ego out of it, I really feel like I want this for myself and I want this for people. I want to understand, like, number one, how to let them. So
mm,
that's part of Mel's thing we'll read. And then the other thing is just like when things are hard, how you can sort of energetically work through them and not hit the scarce mode button immediately and
yeah,
stay in scarce mode button. How
yeah,
do you actually see that for the energetics that it is?
yeah. I know.
Which is maybe it's deeper and maybe it's meant to help you and your cortisol levels at some point, reduce. But anyways, these are my thoughts, but mostly I'm always interested in what people say to themselves when they're in those moments.
Yeah,
What is your conversation that you have with yourself?
yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Nice one.
Because if you go low, and that last thing I'll say, when it's so scarce, like, wouldn't it be so cool if the narrative was different in those ones? If you actually were talking to yourself like, wow, that's great. I'm glad that this person is doing whatever they need to do. that's going to leave me more room to work on this or to do this or to see this like project up and off the ground or to like text Mikki back in under 5 hours.
I know. These are all, honestly, these are all like the benefits of having shifting clients, right? And actually, maybe
Mm-hmm.
you won't be going balls to the wall for 18 hours a day to fit everyone in. Is another way to look at it.
It's actually incredible. My time is so precious. So is yours. And I want to be continuing to work on our projects because there's so many that you and I have because you are my deficit and I am yours. And if you
Exactly.
find the people that know where to go and know how to help you there, sky is the limit with what you can do with them.
There you
So,
go.
it's pretty powerful. So I'm glad that we can be there for each other and help the people that we do. I think it's pretty great.
I totally agree, Jess. And do you know what I'm grateful for actually today?
Oh, you went there before I even asked.
I
That's
know.
tell
It's
me.
actually, I am grateful that we had the conversation about Mel Robbins because now I've made the commitment to read her book and you sort of explained it a little bit more. I'm quite excited to see where she goes with it because maybe you can write an entire book on it. So I'm grateful we had that conversation about that. So I mean, it's a small thing, but yeah, who
They're all
knows?
small things, newsflash.
Yeah,
Again, habits
actually.
are only created with the repetition of the small things.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's just learning how to like categorize them and put them there. I am grateful for this conversation that is a reminder to like swim instead of sink in
Yeah.
scarcity, right? Like
Yeah.
swim in it, right? You don't need to let it be something that it's not. And to also alongside you read Mel's book together. Let them, because it's pretty freeing when you just let somebody do what they're going to do and realize it has nothing to do with you,
Yes.
and to continue to find the people that are your deficit. So
Yeah.
if you're 70, look for that 30 person because they're there and they will show up and they will do it with love and grace and appreciation. It's not easy to find you.
No.
And very, very, very good luck as you embark on your monster adventure run here.
I can't wait to check in with you and let you know all about it.
I can't wait. I'm very excited to be on the road with you at some point. See how you're doing out there, girl.
Nice one. Thanks, Jess.
Bye.